You ever have that feeling where life just squashed you out of the blue? Like everything was crashing down and no matter how hard you fought, it just continued to shatter? Let me tell you something, nobody else will. Occasionally, the shattering isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's preparation. You're not being broken, you're being built. And what if I said that the same pain that you're desperate to run away from is the key God is using to unlock your calling? This is not about faith, this is about strength. This is about rising stronger, quicker, more determined. Today, we're not merely discussing survival. We're discussing transformation by fire. Let's dig deep, let's be uncomfortable, and let's rebuild. Because when God breaks you, it's not to destroy you. It's to construct you for the fight you were born to win. When God begins breaking things in your life apart, it's not by accident. It's not discipline. It's not the universe getting even. It's deliberate, strategic, surgical. Because God doesn't break what's authentic, He breaks what's counterfeit. The superficial identities, the shallow confidence, the poisoned attachments, the delusion of control, these are all things we all bear without even realizing it. And then life strikes. A job loss, a betrayal, a door slammed shut, and we begin to unravel. But what's actually occurring is this. God is removing the mask. He's peeling away all that's been masking the reality of who you are. He's taking away the scaffolding you leaned against, so you now stand on solid rock as who He created you to be. You see, we all construct layers in order to survive. Construct layers. We construct roles, titles, personas, and they may get you through for a bit. But if they are not God's purpose for you, then they're brittle. And when pressure comes, they shatter. So He shatters what is fake in order to bring out what is real. Because real power isn't achieved by looking strong. It's achieved by being rooted. Real faith isn't boisterous. It's consistent. Real identity isn't performance. It's presence. But it is only possible to reach that real through a breaking process. We don't like it. We like transformation without disruption. We like elevation without excavation. But you can't construct on a foundation of brokenness. You can't stand tall standing on deceit. So He shatters it, gently, or painfully. Whatever the cost, because He's more devoted to your truth than to your image. The image may get you admiration, but truth is what will set you free. The breaking isn't meant to demolish your life. It's meant to demolish the version of your life that's holding you captive. It's meant to challenge the pride, the ego, the fear that has been hijacking you in secret. And you know what's crazy? The majority of us don't even realize we're carrying fakes until they get broken. And that relationship you couldn't live without, that habit you rationalized, that title that made you feel important. When it explodes, all of a sudden you're standing face to face with what's beneath. And if you're courageous enough, you'll find it was empty the whole time. That's not weakness. That's revelation. That's when you get to rebuild, but with something tangible this time. This time based on identity, not insecurity. This time based on calling, not comparison. Now, let's dig deeper, because once the breaking process starts, you're not left with pieces. You're being placed. The breakdown is not destruction, it's divine design. That's why the second keynote is important. The breakdown is the beginning of your breakthrough. Read that again. It's not a disruption to your journey, it's the catapult. You were thinking life was coming apart at the seams. You were thinking God was silent. But what if that breakdown you're experiencing is the exact formula for your next level? We adore the concept of breakthrough. We pray for it. We pray for it, we pursue it, but nobody says to you that before you break through, you must break down. You gotta confront what's in the way. You gotta let go of what no longer fits. You can't move into a new chapter pulling an old head. You can't carry the burden of purpose while holding on to the comfort of familiarity. And so, breakdown occurs, and it's unsettling. It's chaotic, it's painful, but it's sacred. Because breakdown breaks open and exposes the cracks. It reveals to you where your strength actually is. It reveals what you believed in more than God. And in that exposed, vulnerable place, that's where the real process starts. That's where character is built. That's where your spirit is purified, not in the applause, not in the spotlight, but in the fire, in the stretch. In the moment you come to know you're going to either let this hurt define you, or you're going to let it build you. Too many people settle at the breakdown. They confuse struggle with defeat, but struggle is evidence that God is working, that He's refurbishing your interior, that He's tilling the soil so new roots can take hold. And yes, it's a mess, but breakthrough never appears like breakthrough in process. It appears like failure. It appears like confusion. But beneath that mess, something great is emerging. something that can't be moved, something that's real. Breakthrough isn't when everything outside of you changes, it's when everything on the inside changes. When the fear that ruled you no longer shouts louder than your faith, love faith. When the insecurity that hindered you is replaced with unshakable identity. When the loss no longer defines you, it refines you. That's a breakthrough. Not one moment. A shift. A fire-tested, soul-deep shift that makes brokenness become boldness. And don't get it twisted. The greater the breakthrough, the greater the breakdown. You want to go up? Then you have to be willing to go down. You want to bear more? Then your capacity has to be stretched. That stretch doesn't feel pleasant, but it's required. It's required. It's what readies you. It's what makes you stop trusting your own strength and begin surrendering to God's strength. You can't nuke breakthrough. You've got to push through the breakdown. You've got to cry, sweat, scream, pray your way through it. And as you're going through it, you have to remember, this is not the end. This is the foundation. This is the cement being laid, the beams being set. So the building rises and it doesn't wobble. It doesn't collapse because it's not built on hype. It's built on healing. And perhaps today you're in the middle of that foundation phase. Perhaps you've been broken and no longer know the version of you that's left. Perhaps you've been taken away from what used to make you feel confident. Perhaps your plans have fallen apart. That's okay. That's the very space God does his best. When you've lost everything left to perform with, you begin living in truth. When the mask is off, the healing begins. When the fake is gone, the real gets a chance to breathe. So if life has broken you, lean in, don't run, don't numb, don't settle, because this breakdown is not wasted. It's not random, it's a holy setup, a sacred preparation, a divine appointment to rebuild you with intention, with power, with truth. The breakdown doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're ready. Discomfort is not the foe, it's the delivery room of fate. And just as in an actual delivery room, it's chaotic, it's noisy, it's stressful, but that's where fresh life is created, that's where change is conceived. You don't get the prize without enduring the pressure. And yet, we invest so much of our existence in attempting to shun discomfort. We pursue comfort like a prize, but comfort never created anything great. Comfort is where dreams come to die, because nothing new can happen in an environment where everything remains the same. Consider this, every time you're going to level up, you were uncomfortable first. The new job that pushed your abilities, the conversation you didn't want to have but had to, the time you walked away from something that felt safe but wasn't healthy. None of that was pleasant, but it made you better. It made you tougher, because discomfort is feedback. It's a reminder that you're in motion. You're venturing into territory that demands more from you. And that more is the part of you that's been hidden under routine, under fear, under the illusion of control. We're not called to a comfort zone. We're called to walk by faith. And faith never tells you to remain where you are. It tells you to move even though you cannot see. To stretch even when it hurts. To have faith even when it doesn't make sense. The issue is, we've mixed up comfort with peace. Peace isn't the lack of pressure. Peace is the presence of God in the midst of the pressure. So if you're feeling stretched, overwhelmed, unsure, it might just mean you're precisely where you're meant to be. Because growth and comfort don't commingle. You want to grow? Steel yourself for discomfort. Each hero you look up to, each leader you revere, each person who's made a difference, they didn't arrive by playing it safe. They walked through fire. They made tough choices. They became uncomfortable. And they repeated it repeatedly. Because they knew the discomfort of growth is fleeting, but the remorse of stagnation is perpetual. So stop seeking the shortcut. Stop praying God to take away all the challenges. Begin praying Him to strengthen you so that you can succeed over them. Begin accepting the stretch, because that is where your ability grows. You cannot arrive at your destiny without encountering discomfort. That's just the cost. And when you begin to realize that pain is a process, not a punishment, everything changes. You no longer resist it. You begin to go with it. You no longer ask, why me? You begin to ask, what's this constructing inside me? Because that pressure, that stress, that tension, it's not there to shatter you. It's there to mold you, to shape you into one who can bear more, plead more, love deeper, stand firmer. And after you've gone through that discomfort, you never return to who you were. That you was comfortable, but it wasn't called. Discomfort loosens up the parts of you that can't go to the next level. And the only way to become who you were born to become is to allow those parts to shed. It doesn't feel good, but it's good for you. It's stretching your faith. It's testing your commitment. It's revealing what's fake and forging what's real. And that's the birthplace of destiny. Your hurt has a purpose. Trust the process. The hurt isn't something you're getting through. It's something that's making you. Every struggle, every breakup, every failure, it's not by accident. It's not for nothing. It's not to hurt you. It's to prepare you. It's to prepare you. There's a reason for the pressure. There's a purpose for the resistance. But it will only work if you trust the process. If you walk into it instead of running from it. We've been taught that pain means something's wrong. But in God's plan, pain is sometimes the initial indicator that something's being made right. Sometimes the only way you can step into tomorrow is through something hard. Sometimes the only way you can become more is to lose what you thought you wanted. And sometimes the best gift God has for you isn't relief, but refinement. Not escape, but endurance. Not comfort, but clarity. Because if you walk through suffering with your eyes open, you begin to realize who you actually are. You begin to realize what truly matters. And you begin to understand that what you believed was destroying you was actually constructing something in you that nothing else could. Pain makes things clear. It focalizes you. It removes distractions. It silences noise. When you are in pain, you cease to pretend. You quit doing. You become real. And in that honest, unfiltered place, where everything else is stripped away, that's where purpose emerges. That's where you listen to God clearer than the noise. That's where you realize you have strength you never knew you had. And that strength is not superficial. It's deep. It's proved. It's won. You become a person who doesn't break under pressure because you've been burned and you came out shaped. But that's only possible if you trust the process. If you quit attempting to bypass steps. If you quit praying for deliverance and begin to ask for patience. If you quit viewing pain as the enemy and begin to view it as a teacher. Because pain will teach you far more than comfort ever could. It will demonstrate to you what you're capable of. It will teach you what you must release. And it will teach you about God, not merely when life goes well, but when life is crashing down around you. Pain has the ability to refine your faith. Not the kind of faith you profess, but the kind of faith you practice. The kind of faith that's not based on emotions, but on reality. The type of faith that doesn't have to know the whole story in order to move forward. And that type of faith is deadly to the enemy. That type of faith can't be swayed. It can't be shaken. It's not grounded in comfort. It's grounded in conviction. So when life stings, when it's black, when it's hard to breathe, remember, this hurt has a purpose. It's not here to hurt you. It's here to unveil you. The only way out is in the fire, in the tears, in the fire, in the tears. In the nights you don't get up, but you keep returning. You keep having faith. You keep pushing. And in that perseverance, something begins to change. The hurt that seemed to be tearing you asunder is the same hurt that is now piecing you back together stronger. You are being crafted, not by achievement, not by praise, but by process. And process is messy. It hurts. But it is the only path to purpose. Each wound you have walked through, God is making it into wisdom. Each loss you've mourned, God is using it to make your ability to love stronger. Each failure you've encountered, God is using it to develop a resilience that cannot be forced. So don't hate the hurt. Don't fight the process. Trust it. Allow it to do its work. Because the version of you that emerges on the other side, that version will be unbreakable. What appears to be deconstruction is often God's reconstruction. When all around you begins to collapse, the job, the relationship, the plans, the image you so painstakingly built, it's hard to keep from panicking. It's hard to think that it can't be the end, that you've blown it, or that God has abandoned you. But what if the destruction isn't failure? What if it's the proof that something greater is being constructed beneath the surface? You can't reconstruct a house without demolishing the old one. You can't build something solid on a weak foundation. God sometimes has to allow it to fall apart so he can build it up the way he should. It's not punishment, it's purpose. When God dismantles something, he's not doing it to destroy you. He's doing it to take away what can't hold you up to where you're headed. It could be pride. It could be pride. It could be habits. It could be a thought process that got you through survival mode but will destroy you in your next chapter. And he loves you too much to allow you to bring that into your future. So, yes, it hurts. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But this is not the end of your story. This is where the real story starts. Consider construction zones. They're messy. They're boisterous. There's dust in the air. Nothing resembles what it's supposed to. But if you run away halfway through, you'll never get a glimpse of the masterpiece of what he makes. God works similarly. He's dismantling what doesn't belong to you so he can reconstruct you stronger, wiser, more in line with his plan. But it requires trust. It requires relinquishing control. Because you can't pray for elevation and then complain when he begins to take away the things that are holding you back. We want to discuss destiny and favor and breakthrough, and those are genuine. But the path to all of that is too often lined with demolition. God will allow some things to break so that he can reveal what was never intended to stand at all. That failed business deal? That door that slammed shut in your face? That one who walked away? It may have felt like rejection, but it was truly redirection. You were never intended to construct your destiny on things that don't last. You were never intended to derive identity from what you do, what you possess, or whom you impress. So he permits the devastation, not to injure you, but to humble you. And from that humility, you're prepared for next. There's something holy about hitting bottom, because when the world falls away, you see what can't be shaken. You see what matters most. You cease to live to impress and begin living with purpose. And in that place, that quiet, stripped, broken place, God begins to rebuild you from the inside out. Not behavior adjustment, but transformation of identity. He begins to replace the lies you've believed with truth. He begins to turn wounds into wisdom. He begins to take what the enemy intended for harm and turn it around into something that blesses not only you, but those around you, The enemy wants you to think that brokenness disqualifies you, that if you're broken, you're finished. But God uses broken things. Brokenness, in fact, is usually the prerequisite for being used on a deeper level. It's not the bright, perfect, filtered pieces of you that are going to make the difference. It's the cracks, the scars, the testimony of what killed you but didn't destroy you. That's where the anointing is. That's where the power flows. God is not seeking perfect, he's seeking surrendered. And surrender typically comes after the fall. So if you're in a season where everything seems like it's falling apart, breathe. This is God reconstruction. And what's on the horizon is bigger than what has been lost. God doesn't waste suffering. He redeems it into purpose. Suffering, he redeems it into purpose. And the you that comes out of this process, that iteration is made to last. God uses breaking to reveal hidden strength. You don't know how powerful you are until you've been pushed to discover that. We think we know ourselves, what we're capable of, how much we can handle. But the reality is, we hardly ever realize our full potential until we find ourselves in a situation where compromise isn't available. That's when the true strength emerges. Not the artificial confidence, not the big ego, but the quiet, rooted strength that declares, I'm bent, but I'm not broken. There are strengths within you today that you never even knew you had because your situation hasn't needed them yet. But God will permit pressure to draw that strength out. He will permit things to shake around you so that that which is solid in you will be seen on the surface. You don't know how deep your roots go until the storm comes. And sometimes he brings the storm just to let you know that you can stay in it. We believe strength is about keeping it all together. But strength is tempered in flames. It's constructed during the wee hours when you're crying, but you do appear anyway. It's where you are forgotten, but you press on. That kind of strength, that's not human, that's of God. That's what God is building in you by way of breaking. You know, the breaking doesn't actually cut away the weak bits. It awakens the dormant bits. The bits of you that were there all along, but asleep. The bits of you that don't rise when all is well, but appear when it's life and death, sink or swim. That tenacity, that faith, that grit, that clarity, it isn't achieved through blessings, it's achieved through fight. And God permits that fight, not to annihilate you, but to make you known. To bring to light the you that's hidden beneath fear, beneath distraction, beneath doubt about yourself. There are aspects of your character, your vocation, your leadership that only emerge in resistance. Just as muscle only grows when it is stretched beyond its natural capacity, your spirit only grows when it's challenged. That's why he allows it to become difficult. That's why he doesn't always save you right away. Because the rescue isn't the point. The revelation is. And the revelation is this. You're tougher than you believe. You're designed for something more than comfort. You're capable for this moment, even when it doesn't seem like it. You have in you strength that runs generations. Strength that your children and your grandchildren will inherit. Strength that isn't created from books or speeches, but through enduring what was intended to crush you. That strength is sacred. It's holy, and it's only revealed in the process. You won't discover it on the mountaintop. You find it in the valley. It's find it in the valley. You find it in the moments of quiet when you want to give up, but don't. You discover it when you cease searching outwards for approval and begin burrowing inwards to discover your why, your purpose, your God-given spark. So if it's like you're breaking, if it's like you're clinging by the thinnest of threads, maybe that's because God is stirring up something in you that's lain dormant for far too long. Maybe this strength you're crying out for isn't arriving from somewhere else. Maybe it's already there, waiting to be summoned out. And maybe breaking isn't the end. Maybe it's the start of the most powerful you yet. Growth starts where comfort stops. Every human being wants to grow. Every human being wants the blessing, the success, the transformation, but not many want to pay the price. And the price is discomfort. True growth is messy. It's inconvenient. It's disruptive. Because in order to grow into who you're supposed to be, you need to release who you were faking to be. That takes courage. That takes disruption. That takes disruption. And above all, that is stepping out of what is known and into the unknown. Comfort is a deceiver. It tells you you're in safety, but it's actually keeping you stagnant. Comfort says, you're okay where you are, don't risk it. Don't have the uncomfortable conversation. Don't pursue the dream. Just remain. But the reality is that nothing new develops in the comfort zone. You don't find your calling in comfort. You don't become resilient in comfort. You don't hone your calling in comfort. All of that happens when you're being stretched, pushed, tested. That's where growth resides. Growth is inconvenient by nature because it confronts the parts of you that you've been running from. It reveals the boundaries you've set for your own potential, and it asks you to choose, grow or stay comfortable, walk into purpose. Most won't grow because they're addicted to comfort. They've made convenience their idol. But if you want to be serious about your calling, you have to become intentionally uncomfortable. You have to learn to lean into the stretch, to hold on to the unknown, to get excited about things that terrify you. When you look at individuals who've made a difference, not surface-level achievement, but legacy, they all share one quality. They chose discomfort. They stepped into the flames. They leaned into the fear. They forced themselves forward when everything within them was wanting to remain stuck. And that's how they discovered levels of growth that they didn't even know were possible. And you can do the same. But it begins by deciding daily to choose growth over comfort. You can't pray for growth and fight the process. You can't ask to be elevated and step back when pressure arrives. Pressure is proof that you are growing. Just as muscles rip before they grow out of that, your mind, your spirit, your character, they all must be pushed to become stronger. That difficult conversation you've been putting off, that choice you've been procrastinating on, that vocation you're constantly backing away from, that's your growth zone. And the only way in is to stop trying to bargain with fear and begin hearing purpose. The reality is comfort is a ceiling. It resembles peace, but it's a prison. It's a prison. It has you reliving cycles that feel safe but are suffocating your potential. But when you break free of that cycle, when you get the courage to cross the line, that's where the transformation starts. That's where you discover what you're actually capable of. And most importantly, that's where you encounter the person God designed you to be. You're not being buried, you're being planted. When life gets dark, when the pressure mounts, when it feels like everything is closing in, it's tempting to believe that it's the end, that God has left you. That your future is buried under the weight of stress, disappointment, failure. But that's not what's happening. You're not being buried in defeat. You're being planted for destiny. And planting always starts in darkness. Consider a seed. Before it ever becomes anything, before the roots form, before it even gets sunlight, it must be planted in the ground, in quiet, in a place nobody sees. That's where the real process starts. And so will you. God will sow you in seasons of seeming darkness. He'll let you sit in obscurity, in quiet, in pressure. Not because you're forgotten, but because you're growing, because something is forming beneath the surface that isn't meant to be rushed. Burial and planting appear the same on the surface, but one is intent. Burial is about ending. Planting is about preparation. You can feel dirty like you're drowning, but nothing is happening. But down deep, roots are penetrating the earth. Groundwork is being laid. Character is being built. And if you hold on, if you believe the process, something amazing is going to emerge. But that breakthrough doesn't happen on its own. The seed must die to its former self to become what it was destined to be. It must yield to the process. So must you. You must let go of your old way of thinking, your old self, your old limitations, and grow into your purpose. You have to let the old version of you be buried so the new you can rise. That version is stronger, bolder, more focused, but it's born through surrender. To be planted is isolating. It's silent. It feels like punishment, but it's protection. God hides you as he heals you. He covers you as he gets you ready. Because when you surface, when you finally rise above the surface, you're different. You're planted, you're grounded, you're immovable, and you're ready for what he's called you to bear. The enemy is trying to get you to think you're buried, that it's done, that you're stuck, but you're not stuck. You're sprouting, and if you could see what's going on underground, you wouldn't be disappointed. You'd be thrilled, because the deeper the roots, the higher the rise. God doesn't waste seasons of silence. He uses them to prime for explosive growth. So instead of resenting the dark season, embrace it. Lean into it. Let it teach you. Let it build you. Stop trying to dig yourself out too early. Stop comparing your process to someone else's harvest. You're not behind. You're being prepared. And preparation always comes before elevation. Every great tree was once a hidden seed. And what made it grow wasn't the light. It was what happened in the dark. If you're in a season that feels buried, know this. Something powerful is happening underground. You're not being ignored. You're not invisible. You're being shaped, strengthened, fortified. And when it's time, when the roots are deep enough, you're going to rise, taller, wiser, more resilient than ever. Because what looked like death was actually the beginning of your greatest growth. God shatters what's not real so the authentic you can emerge. That's the reality most men and women flee from. But it's the reality that frees you. We're not commissioned to live an easy life. We're commissioned to live a meaningful one. And meaning, my friend, is never located in perfection. It's located in pressure. It's constructed in the trenches. When all hell breaks loose, when you feel like you're being buried, you have two options. Break down or break through. The breakdown, that's the basis of your breakthrough. It's where the lies are laid bare, where your ego is shattered, where your false self is dead. But that's okay, because in that moment, God begins to reveal what has been real within you all along. And it's not weakness, it's strength you had no idea you possessed. It's clarity, it's courage, it's fire. And yes, it burns, but it purifies. Discomfort, that's the destiny delivery room. That's where the old passes away and the new comes in. You can't move to your next level if you don't release who you were at the previous one. Pain isn't the enemy. Passivity is. Because when pain arrives, it indicates growth is at the door. And when God begins the process of rebuilding, he doesn't work with old materials. He uses every scar, every setback, every ounce of pressure to remake you into something unshakable. So when it feels like you're being destroyed, don't panic. Don't give up. Recognize the gift in the breaking. You're not being punished. You're being planted. And what happens in the dark? What happens when no one sees? That's where the roots take hold. That's where the foundation is forged. You're being prepared for the weight of what's coming. You're being stretched for the strength that'll sustain your purpose. Each magnificent tree used to be a secret seed. And what made it powerful wasn't sunshine. It was the hurricane. It was the dark. It was the hustle. You're not trapped. You're not covered up. You're shooting up. You're being constructed by something greater than your situation. And that's not only powerful, it's holy. That's purpose on the move. That's divine plan in full action. That's God declaring, you're ready now. You weren't broken to remain broken. You were broken to be remade better than ever. Don't be afraid of the fire. Become the fire. The ascend starts immediately.